Hello. I am coming to you live from that wonderful liminal space that is the time between Christmas and New Year's. Maybe it's just me, it could be you as well. I always end up reflecting around this time of year about the things that I would like to achieve next year and the things that I did achieve this year. And some of you may have noticed that I have a particular interest in stop frame animation. So far, I've been able to create some relatively uncomplicated sequences, but one of the things that I think I've been a little bit too intimidated to do, I want to figure out how to animate one of my characters. Now, the creature in particular that I want to make a stop frame puppet of is my Gloombles. For those of you that aren't familiar with this creature, they are the guardians of the depressed and the grieving, and when something really horrible is going on in your life, they show up to kind of take care of you and help you move through that situation. One of the hurdles that I'm going to be faced with is the fact that they don't really walk, they don't have legs. I just ran, I didn't have any legs, I couldn't get away. That is the first hurdle that we are going to figure out. So without any further ado, let's go try something new. Oh, frick. So I went and looked up a couple of videos online, and most of the professional studios have these really intense sort of armature bars that look like they cost thousands of dollars in order to create. I do have these lamps here. They have a pretty posable armature to them. I actually happen to have a couple of extra of those armatures. So I'm going to see if I can fit those in some way and do a test run. Fortunately for me, I actually have some plush that I designed that are going to be the same size as the puppets are. So we got those to use to test with the armature, and I'm actually just going to do a little test sequence now to see if I can get them to bounce. I'm gonna edit everything and show you guys what I got. Okay, so now that we've got this all finished, I'm going to put it in my final editor so that we can kind of see what a sequence might potentially look like with the real puppet. It is a little rough around the edges, but we have our first segment. Now that I've got kind of the rough sketch of what I'm gonna be basing my puppet around, I think it's important for me to start thinking about the design of the puppet, the movements I want the puppet to make. That's going to determine how many different parts I'm going to have to make. Rolly case that goes behind him that he can sort of tug along. We might have a little something fall out, like, I don't know, a teacup. And one of the things that I have seen in stop frame animation when you go behind the scenes is that they have a bunch of different faces for their puppets. Specifically, I think I saw like thousands of different faces for Jack from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I would like to create a couple of different faces for our Gloomble. I want a bowler hat, and I'd also like to make a suitcase that kind of looks like it's stuffed full of everything that a Gloomble might need in order to set up shop underneath somebody's floorboards, because that's where they live. It's got to fit a lot of stuff in that suitcase in order to be comfy under there. My aim is for the clip to be maybe between 4 and 5 seconds. I know that that doesn't sound like a lot, but with all of the elements that we're having to put into it, 4 or 5 seconds is an incredibly long amount of time. Hi, it's actually the new year. So happy 2024 whenever I get around to editing this. Today I'm gonna work on the puppet's face. What I'm actually gonna be doing is I'm gonna be making a casting of the face so that I can either press clay into it or pour resin into it or something like that.
Now for our face, we are just going to be using a little bit of traditional polymer clay. I use this for everything, and I'm using it in the color beige, which is quite neutral, so it's easy for you to paint whatever details you want over top of your finished sculpt.
Oh, those are some good little fangs. Feel like he would talk like, "Hi, guys. My name's Philip. I like having fangs."
Once Philip had his fangs in place, I used a couple of busted up toothpicks so that we would have some supports for his chubby little horns.
I think he looks good when his features are a little bit chubby like this. Now, the toothpicks are poking out the back, but when we inevitably make our mold, that's not gonna matter. I am going to place this onto its baking tray now for the smoothing portion so that I don't have to touch it as much. And I'm gonna use some isopropyl alcohol just to make sure everything is really nice and smooth and pushing everything together before I move on to the next stage of carving the sigil on its forehead. Some of you that are new here may be a little bit curious as to why the Gloomble has a sigil on its forehead. So when the Gloomble moves in underneath the floorboards, they're not visible. And if you're able to open up the floorboard and your Gloomble reveals itself to you and you see the sigil, it'll tell you your fortune about why it's there, the journey that you're on. And it's also a signifier to the other Gloombles about what sort of a job this one is supposed to be doing, so that if they have to work together, they can help each other out. Or if they meet in the wild, it's kind of like a name tag saying like, "Hey, I'm Bob. Hey, my human's heartbroken." This sigil in particular is the heart healing sigil, but there's a bunch of other ones that I've designed. I'm sure that I will make more in the years to come. I designed it so that it looks like there's a little bit bit of sunshine coming up out of a broken heart, and it's like there's a new dawn rising there. Okay, so it is the next day, and this little guy is all baked. I'm going to clean out the sigil here a little bit. And then I'm going to be building the body of our puppet. I'd also like to find some sort of a way to make the arms slightly posable. I am also working with a little bit of an impediment today. Yesterday, I stabbed myself clean through my finger. This injury might look tiny, but it is mighty. So always be careful with any of the tools that I use, because one of them decided while I was cleaning up that it really didn't like me.
So for the body of our beast today, we are using a little bit of fun fur, and I'm making sure that I do it nice and wide around the edge of our doll, just so that it's got a firmness to it and an extra ridge that it can hold on to so it will stand up better. Also, when working with fun fur in a studio that you like to keep clean, make sure to get one of these little mini vacuums, because you will find it is like glitter, it never goes away.
Incredibly fuzzy. Oh, how charming. We have quite the gentleman in our midst. I don't know why, I just want to rub his tummy.
Now that we have the exterior of our doll made, it's time for us to see what stuff he's made of. Get it? Because we're about to stuff him full of stuff. That was a lot of stuff. Sometimes when you say a word too many times, it loses meaning, hey? Anyhow, I used a little bit of metal spaghetti, aka wire, and some of these leftover clay scraps from some other projects so that it would weigh down his bum a little bit and make him posable. So that it didn't get on the fun fur, I wrapped it in cling film before putting an extra third piece of metal through the middle so that we would have something to hang him off the armature with. I put the skin back on our weird, tapey, clayey skeleton, and somehow it kind of worked.
A strange alien life force approaches.
And just so you know I did my research, look at our baby boy bounce.
The worst part of working with fun fur, it gets on every other part of the project and every other surface for the next 6 months. So what I'm gonna do with this, instead of taping it off, is I'm just going to try my very best to paint the straight lines.
Now for the stripy arms portion of our puppet, I just decided that instead of going out and scouring and looking for something, I would just get a piece of canvas and paint it in the way that I wanted. I personally believe that some of the charm of claymation and stop frame animation is that it does look a little bit handmade, and some of the flaws are what makes it look so beautiful. So having things be a little bit less than perfect was, in my opinion, the vibe. To fill out some of the wiry bits, I ended up using some electrical tape, and it also made sure that I would not get stabbed while trying to pose the wire around the arms. And instead of using regular thread, I actually opted for a little bit of dental floss. I find it stronger, a little bit more flexible, and a little bit more resilient.
Okay, so I've got a little piece of paper here, and I have also got some tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and construct the suitcase, and then I will be able to take it apart, and I'll have sort of a pattern so that when I have my fabric ready to go to make the suitcase, or my leather, I won't be wasting precious time figuring out what shape it needs to be.
So here's the part where I tell you guys that I did a little bit too much in this video. I was kind of over-engineering things, and there is a specific moment when I realized that I didn't need to be putting this much work in, at least to the suitcase, and to one other element that I'm gonna warn you about but won't reveal just yet. You can kind of see the exact moment when I realized, oh my gosh, I could have done this so much simpler. Why am I doing this to myself?
A lot better than me spending the next several hours figuring out how to pattern piece this together. I just realized that a box of those like Altoid mints would be the perfect size. I don't have to do this the hard way. I can just use something that already exists.
Before I went hunting for any of those Altoid tins, I needed to make sure that our main sculpture was nice and smooth because it was time for us to build our mold around it. Any mold that you pour is going to replicate the finish that you have on the original sculpture, and because I wanted this to be shiny if I poured anything into it, I had to make sure that the original was shiny too. I personally prefer to build my molds out of Lego because they are reusable. Some people have said that it would be easier if I just used cardboard and hot glue, but personally, I love any excuse to play with toys, so
you can do these by volume or by weight. I do both just to be extra sure that I am getting the right amount. Okay, it's already starting to give me a little bit of grief, so that means it's time for it to pour.
Now that I've poured my mold, it's time to grab some dinner, grab some mints, and work on the background.
So while I was out having dinner, I brought my iPad with me, and I decided that I was going to start working on the background. What I'm going to do, we're going to have a little bit of a brick wall, and then there's going to be some flower pots over top of where this gloom's kind of toddling along. And I think my game plan is to start this piece digitally so that I've got all of my dimensions right. I think I'm going to try and print it out on some hot pressed watercolor paper. because I really want to do it with watercolor. I love how the backgrounds in the most recent Ghibli film look. If you guys haven't seen The Boy and the Heron, I'm not going to say anything about it, but the backgrounds were gorgeous. Boom, 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 boom. Don't stop that. Boom, boom, boom. Don't stop that. Boom, boom, don't stop that. Boom. I'm having too much fun. This is me drawing a suitcase in 3 seconds. I'm gonna get the rest of the sketch done and then I'm gonna print it off so that I can start painting. Hello, it's Editing Karis here. I thought you guys would enjoy a compilation of all of the horrible sounds that my printer made while trying to print out this image on the watercolor paper so that I could paint it. So here's a compilation of disturbing printer noises. Enjoy! Ooh. Hey! To the victor goes the spoils. Alrighty, so we have left this overnight. It is hardened up, and now it is time to demold it. Peekaboo! Well, he lost his horns, but they're very clean coming out. Oh, that's fine. I needed to fix this. A little bit of super glue. No prob, Bob. Nice. Good job, team. We did it. Oh, ow. I just fell over a little bit. So I've got a little piece of scrap clay here. I am just going to press it into the mold and see what's what. Oh no, that's not ideal. Do you remember what happened with the suitcase? Why am I making 3 or 4 different faces with eyelids on it when I could just find a way to stick eyelids onto the existing face that I've already sculpted? It's never really a loss, it's just part of the learning process. We're doing it smarter, not harder, guys. Now that we figured out the element of the face and simplified everything so that it's not gonna be so hard, your girl's a little bit of a goob. I'm a goob. What can I say? But now I have a face mold, maybe I can make you guys some gloombles.
Now that we finally had the face figured out, I patched everything up that had been broken during the molding process and got to work by painting this with some acrylic paints. Now, we are going for an aged vibe here, as basements are not notorious for being clean and sparkly. Kind of like he's been soaking in a bath of Earl Grey for several decades. Which, to be honest, they need like a theme park where you can do that, because I would go there on vacation if I could. I had returned from my voyage to get the mints, and I didn't find Altoids, but I did find these, which I much preferred. On my journey, I also stumbled across some tech decks and realized that it would be a great idea to pull the wheels off of them and glue them to our mints so that they could roll around freely behind our Gloomble. These toys are actually designed to have their wheels removed, so it was kind of perfect.
Whoever painted this portrait of me having a picnic in the park, we need to talk because the likeness is far too accurate. It's a little bit powdery inside, so I'm gonna rinse this out. That'll work. I just have to figure out how to separate them.
Oh my god. Ow, frick. Faffendaboo.
Ow, oh, now it's sharp. Ugh, I've done it.
Now that we've gotten the wheels assembled, it was just time to add a little bit of a pulley. I had some of these burlap strings just hanging out, so I glued them on top so that our Gloomble would have something to pull this by. I had the successful pulley system, so I added our little handle that was such a struggle to get before deciding that we needed to pack our suitcase. Some of these, like this little wheel of cheese, will not be used in this animation, but I took great pleasure in stuffing this suitcase full of little things that I felt like this guy's personality would need if he was going to have a picnic or a tea party with somebody.
This looks exactly how I want it to, like it was made out of things one could find in the basement.
Yeah.
Let's go!
Phew! Since his suitcase had been packed, it was time for our little friend to put his game face on. Or just any face for that matter, because he didn't have one before we glued it there.
Oh, this is so cute! He definitely needs a few accessories though, like a chapeau. I initially had wanted to make a bow tie for him, but I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards a scarf.
The scarf may have had something to do with the fact that outside while I was making this, it was -30 and I kind of wanted him to be warm.
I don't know, there's something so charming about the fact that he's got this little scarf is dragging on the ground behind him. We gotta make sure that this part is extra dirty because he's been dragging it through the mud. He's left a little smear behind. A little muck trail. Oh gosh, it's bad.
Now that he was mostly assembled, it was time for me to figure out the eyelid mechanism, which was really, at the end of the day, the most simple part of this project. I literally just matched up some glass mosaic beads and then put little balls of clay on them in a size that would fit over top of his eye before sculpting them so that I could stick them on. To be honest with you, I think because I saw the professionals doing it in such a difficult way, I felt in order to get a good result, I had to be that way too, but I can just do things at the pace and speed that are okay with what skill set I've got.
It's gonna fit. While we are doing our animation, I am going to be using museum wax to affix these on. Oh, a message from me from the future. Remind me of a very sweaty old man right now, dude. Next time, I would definitely use magnet. Although the wax does give him kind of like a Robert Smith hairstyle. If I was gonna do it again, I would probably do it with magnets inside of the eyelids and inside of the face. Like toenails. I am putting them away, but oh my god. Someone's gonna come to my house and be like, why do you have a bag of toenails? And I'm gonna be like, snacks for later. You live, you learn. This is our first time trying something, so I'm not gonna be too upset with myself. If I ever did this again, I know what to do next time. Or should I say, when I do this again, because I feel like this is gonna be the first of many stop motion projects for me.
And now, my darlings, it is time for the cherry on top, or rather, for the hat on top, because that's where the hat goes. It goes on top of your head, guys. I have never built a miniature hat before, and so I decided I would grab this random lid as a base because it looked like it could work. I have, however, worked with felt before, and you do need a little bit of boiling water and soap in order to get things to stick in the shape you want them to, so that's what we were dunking this fabric into. I would dry it just a little bit and let it cool before stretching it over our weirdly shaped lid. And because the fabric is felt, I broke out our felting needle, which is the most violent and stabby of the crafts.
To completely misquote Christine, the science queen, stab, stab, stab till it looks fab. For your help, weird glass nipple. It's time for you to go back where you live. It does look like that though. Who designed this lid? Perhaps you can wear it like this so that he walks through the streets in disguise. Oh, I like that.
Now that our fine friend had his chapeau, it was time for us to transform my desk into our green screen studio.
Okay, so it is officially go time. I'm gonna go ahead and do my best to animate this and edit it all together. It's gonna take me quite a few hours to do this. You guys get to see everything in 2 seconds. So here's the final reveal. I'm so excited! Oh, if only I could time travel!
So there he is, our little man wandering through the streets on an adventure, and I managed to figure out a way to turn it into a loop with our little teacup there. I'm not sure if you guys noticed that. Phil ended up being incredibly expressive even just with those little eyelids. And I hope that if you guys enjoyed this project, you'll let me know that you want to see more or what you'd like to see more of in the comments below, or interact in some way. I know that this is only a very short couple of seconds video. It did take us a long time to create, but it is so worth it. And if you guys encourage me, I would be more than happy to make more of this. So please let me know if you enjoyed. If you liked what you saw here today and you want to support my channel, I hope that you'll consider checking out my online shop. I sell a bunch of my artwork there, including some of my hand-sculpted creations like this one. If there's something that you're interested in getting and it's out of stock, you can sign up for my email list and you'll get notified of when I'm going to have more. Thank you so much for being here with me today, okay? I love you. Bye!
I'm so nervous, you guys. I have no idea what I'm doing.